Hey everybody, I'm Shane,
What's up? I'm Jamie.
and we are Word Smack. And today we're going to be taking a look at the song Subterranean Homesick Alien by Radiohead. So let's get right into it.
Awesome.
All right, first things first. That guitar sound is one of the most incredible things I've ever heard, and I'll never forget the first time I listened to this album and the first time I listened to this song, I was like, what the hell is that? I don't
It's got a really nice tone.
I don't remember what year this came out, but whammy pedals were definitely already a thing by then, obviously, because he's using one. But uh, in the time since, I've investigated that, so he has a little bit of a dirty sound on the guitar tone, and then that goes
Uh,
into a whammy pedal where whatever note you play on the guitar, it plays another note an octave higher, and then you can move the pedal and it moves the note that's an octave higher up and down while keeping the basic note the same. So you have two notes that are kind of moving around like this. And
wow,
then
that's really cool.
it is. And then he puts a delay on that so that it's kind of overlapping itself. And then he adds a big reverb
Right.
to all of it. And it has that kind of otherworldly sound to it that he can use to, it's almost like a slide effect or something. But I just love the guitar tone and how it meshes with the. There's also a Rhodes piano in there, and I believe that piano also has a delay on it. So there's two things that have delays that kind of doing this bouncing and overlapping thing over the
Right. They're adding a lot of like atmosphere
right.
and depth to it and
While the
everything.
drums and bass are really pretty laid back in this song and pretty just kind of pulsing and working together, not standing out at all to make room
Right.
for this.
It was a nice little slow shuffle going on there on the drums at the beginning, though. That was pretty cool.
So I'm going to back up and listen to a little bit of that again, and then we'll jump into the lyrics.
All right.
The breath of the morning, I keep forgetting the smell of the warm summer air. I live in a town where you can't smell a thing. You watch your feet for cracks in the pavement.
Verse 1. The breath of the morning, I keep forgetting the smell of the warm summer air. I live in a town where you can't smell a thing. You watch your feet for cracks in the pavement. So, first thing I want to ask you is, have you ever heard this song before?
No, I've never, and I'm very inexperienced with Radiohead. I only know Creep, and that's about it.
Wow.
Holy
I
crap.
know.
Well, you're missing
I'm
out.
prejudiced against a lot of the music from the '90s. There's a whole bunch of music from the '90s that I had I just like wasn't interested in it at all.
You know what?
And
It's the same for
and
me.
that's stupid on my part,
No, I get it. Like there was a lot of things that, there's new metal and all this stuff came around and I didn't like it that
Yeah.
much, but one of my good friends turned me on to this album and I'll never forget it. He had moved to Colorado where I live now and I came out to visit him and we were driving through the Denver area and he put this record on in his truck and he's like, check these guys out. And I was just like, holy crap, who is this? And
Wow.
I'd never heard of Radiohead before, so I was blown away.
I feel like that with a lot of music, you need to have like an experience with it, like what you're describing. When I just heard it on the radio or it was passing by on TV or something like that, it didn't grab me. But I think sometimes you got to have a connection first, and if there's some sort of connection and you really let yourself let your guard down and listen to it, then you can understand it better and give it the appreciation.
Well, just like these videos, it's like having someone you kind of trust present it to you
Right. Exactly.
changes the way you listen to it the first time. So,
Yeah. That's exactly right.
So anyway, okay, that first verse, the breath of the morning, I keep forgetting the smell of the warm summer air. Like he forgets what the outdoors smells like. I live in a town where you can't smell a thing. You watch your feet for cracks in the pavement. Like, I don't know, anything pop in your head from that first verse?
I mean, not particularly. I was trying to figure out what I live in a town where you can't smell a thing, but might be unless it's maybe a town that's in the middle of nowhere or just isn't near anything that produces a lot of smells, like a forest or a lake or industrial things or something like that. It's just maybe a little podunk down in the middle of nowhere. I don't know.
Uh, I don't take it as real at all. I take it as a metaphor. Like it's boring. There's no flavor. It's like it could be a small town, but it's just like you're stuck in this rut, and there's just nothing there to delight your senses in any way.
Right. That makes more sense.
That's kind of the way. And then that line about you watch your feet for cracks in the pavement, and it reminds me of that childhood thing. They step on a crack and break your mother's back. It's like,
Right. But it sounds like maybe it means sort of like the most exciting thing that's happening is you just trying not to get tripped up.
Exactly. And what
Yeah.
a great line that is, and you just hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. So awesome.
Aliens hover, making home movies for the folks back home. Of all these weird creatures who lock up their spirits, draw holes in themselves, and live for their secrets.
All right. Up above, aliens hover, making home movies for the folks back home. All these weird creatures who lock up their spirits, drill holes in themselves, and live for their secrets.
Wow.
It's really cool. I mean, it's really cool. It's also really weird. Like, this dude singing about aliens.
Yeah, it's those last three lines. Makes me think of people who don't let their real selves out. They don't express themselves. They don't show their true self. Probably for fear of ridicule, or just we all have that thing where we only show our true selves to our closest people or something like that. I think there are people who are very alone because of something like that, and so live for their secrets, drill holes in themselves. Maybe is like they only see their true self themselves.
Right.
And I'm not sure about the drill holes in themselves
Well,
thing.
the first time I heard that they drill holes in themselves, I was like, it just popped in my head like piercings, but that doesn't really work. That doesn't really work for me in this context. I think it's more just like injuring yourself through cyclical like bad habits or something like that. But that line about locking up their spirits, and it just kind of ties into the first verse with the like,
right.
You live in this boring place where there's just nothing for you, and very, very unsatisfied with the way life is going.
Right, and I would say that, I mean, this is a generality, not true for everyone, I'm sure, but I would say that like we were talking about, maybe a small town that doesn't have a lot to offer in the way of entertainment or that kind of thing. I would say that probably those small towns are also the most susceptible to, say, like in your youth being having to act a certain way or hide yourself or whatever, because the other kids are gonna ridicule you or whatever. Much more so than in a big city where people are more likely to express themselves and be accepted.
100%. And I mean, we know because we both grew up in that. At least I did. I grew up in a very small town.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, your town was smaller than mine, but yeah, it was that. It was very much that.
Some of that thought like definitely resonates with me. That interplay is so amazing in there. For one thing, like the keyboard took over. That in every other part so far, it's been the guitar that's taking the in between and filling the space with those slinky lines. Yeah. But in this one, the keyboard took over, and it has that the Rhodes piano delay sound going where it's kind of bouncing a little bit. That's so cool. Yeah.
The tone of it and the sound of that and everything, very, very late 60s, early 70s, kind of kind of sound. That's really cool.
And this album in general, OK Computer, is just filled with, not that specific tone, but the whole album is filled with, it is a smorgasbord of tones and sounds, which is one of the things that drew me to it, as well as just amazing songwriting. But so that line there was, they're all uptight. So here's something funny. I've been listening to this song for 15 or 20 years, and I never knew that's what he said. I thought he said outside. That's what I always thought he was saying. Outside.
Yeah. Well, that would fit with kind of what we were talking about before.
Yeah, absolutely. About the people like stuck in their little circle of boredom or whatever. And it's interesting because in the last verse, he's like talking about basically from the aliens' point of view, they're making home movies for their friends to show them of these weird things on Earth, these weird creatures who lock up their spirits and drill holes in themselves. So,
wow.
Right? It's just an interesting. That's a hot take, but there you go.
I wish that they swoop down in a country lane late at night when I'm driving. Take me on board their beautiful ship. Show me the world as I'd love to see it.
All right, verse 3. I wish they'd swoop down in a country lane late at night when I'm driving. Take me on board their beautiful ship. Show me the world as I'd love to see it. Yeah, so, I mean, it just goes back to everything we've been saying. Like, this guy's actually wishing, it sounds like, to be abducted by aliens so that he could break this cycle that he lives in and see things, and maybe not anally probed, if that's what you're thinking.
I was just gonna say, I'm so bored I'm willing to be anally probed to get out of here.
I don't know, that verse is, there's nothing deeply metaphorical about the words there. I wish they'd swoop down and grab me, but take me on board their ship and show me the world as I'd love to see it. Like from that outside perspective, like truly outside perspective,
Right. Exactly. And if somebody is that bored with their existence or whatever, my guess is that they haven't traveled much. And so, show me the world as I'd love to see it, which of course, if it's an alien thing, you're talking about literally, being above the planet or something. But maybe it's a metaphor for just like, people that live in the next state or the next country or something like that. And I wish they'd take me away so that I could see, you know, what things are like over there, you know.
Right, but I don't think that's what he's saying. I think
No, I don't think so either, but it's
I think he's
I'm
saying
sticking with
aliens come down and swoop him up.
yeah.
All right.
I tell all my friends, but they never believe me. They think that I finally lost it completely. I show them the stars and the meaning of life. They shut me away, but I'd be
All right. As the last verse, I'd tell all my friends, but they'd never believe me. They'd think I'd finally lost it completely. I'd show them the stars and the meaning of life. They'd shut me away, but I'll be all right.
Man, this guy's bored. I mean, you know, now he's basically saying I'm willing to do this and even be labeled crazy and be shut up, but I'll be okay because I won't be stuck in this like meaningless existence anymore.
Absolutely. And I know where the song came from. Like I've read about his inspiration, which I'll get to when we're at the end here.
Okay.
And
Cool.
it's very interesting how he came up with the idea for this song. But yeah, it all just, this verse 4 just wraps back and kind of wraps up everything that he said so far. Like he really wants to break out of this place he's in, like mentally, physically, whatever. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because the way it's sung, the delivery of it fits the music great. But like when you think about what's being said, it almost doesn't fit the music. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean it as it's like a contrast. You know, it doesn't, because the music's all trippy and kind of relaxed, and you know you're like getting into this headspace or whatever of this really beautiful, you know, music and tone and everything. But he's talking about, you know, how he's so, you know, dissatisfied with his life or whatever, that he's, you know, hoping he gets abducted by aliens. You would think that would be more of a dark metal or something, you know.
Right.
My life sucks. You know.
No, you're not wrong. So, all right, let's hear the end here.
That's really cool.
Hold on. I'm going to back up and listen to the guitar go right before that. It's
All right.
freaking cool. So I wanted to ask you about this music. I kind of glossed over it the first time we went through the chorus, which is really he's just saying they're uptight, and this one he's saying I'm uptight. But does this musically feel like something else to you, or what does it remind you of?
I focused in on the drums, of course, first because they were doing something a little more interesting, and obviously I'm a drummer, but it sounds, you know, he's like keeping the beat just on the hi-hat for like a count of 4 or something like that, and then doing these, you know, doing a bunch of fills to kind of fill it in or whatever, and that's not, I don't want to say it's not normal, but it's not usual. You know, usually you're keeping a beat with the snare and the bass or something, and he just drops back to nothing, at least as far as I can hear, nothing but the hi-hat, and then comes in with these rolls and everything. And so it's a nice contrast there of the, full on drums and just keeping the time.
That's a great observation, and I actually think that's like our very Ringo Starr kind of thing to do.
Okay.
A very
Yeah,
Beatles
I can see
thing to
that.
do, where they just completely drop out and throw in all these crazy rolls and stuff. And the weird thing about
Right.
it is when the Beatles do it, you almost don't even notice it's happening. It all just fits together so well, and really it's the same thing here. He's just he's pushing tension and pulling tension like in this section. But what I noticed that I'd never noticed before as you and I were listening to this chorus section sounds so Zeppelin-esque musically to me.
Oh yeah.
The guitars and the layers if you listen to what the scales and what they're doing, it has a really kind of Zeppelin-ish sound to it.
Yeah, you're right. And he's, Bonham was very much like that too, where of dropping out, coming back in, doing something really big, and then doing something really small, and just a very dynamic. And so, but not only the drums are doing that, but it, like you said, you almost don't even notice. If I hadn't purposely been like paying attention to the drums during that part, I would have never noticed that he was only doing the hi-hat thing and then doing these rolls, because it's blended in and it's kind of masked a little bit
Right.
by all of the different layers of guitars and the keyboards, and the vocals are going and all of that. And so it's just it's another one like I mentioned in the Tool video, it's another one where all the sounds are weaving around each other, and
Very much.
yeah,
Very much.
it's very cool.
And it's, just in this case, it's not, the drums aren't going crazy or whatever. They're just playing more of a traditional role and keeping things together. But I'm going to back up a little bit and play that part of that section again. Just listen to what the guitars are doing with the keyboards and tell me that this isn't extremely Jimmy Page sounding. It's those ascending scales and stuff. I don't know. It reminds me of. I can't think of a song right off the top of my head, but maybe something Houses of the Holy Era or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, it's got that. Well, and like you were pointing out, that one guitar sound that was just there's the abducted by aliens thing. There's a lot of liftoff happening in this song in different places.
No, that's liftoff. That's kind of funny. Like, he got an erection there.
or maybe that's what an anal probe sounds like. I don't know.
So it's almost the end, which this end, every single time I hear it, gives me goosebumps. And it's just 2 or 3 chords, but it's just perfect. I still can't figure out if the genius of this song is that guitar tone, which is so unusual, or the Rhodes piano, which is so usual and subtle, or if really it's just how they interplay with each other, because it's just brilliant.
It's like they're dancing, it's like they're doing a dance.
Very much so. All right, I'll back up a few seconds and you can hear the ending. Man, that's the shit.
This is the drummer in me that's the drummer in me that doesn't know hardly anything about notes and music and all that stuff. It ended on a minor key, right?
No.
No.
Oh. It ended on a major, actually.
Oh, okay. It just kind of it had that.
It That's the point. That's my point. There's something about the chord they picked to end on. It's like not out of the key of the song, but it wasn't in the normal flow of everything we heard, and I don't know. There's something warm and fuzzy about that for me.
It's. I mean, I agree with you, but it also kind of has like a little mystery, kind of creepy thing to it. You
It
know.
absolutely has something mysterious about it. Let me see if I can get that again. That's just freaking awesome. I don't
Yeah.
know. I have this thing about the endings of songs that can just, if it's done right and it's really unusual or out there, it can just, and I love these things where it's kind of not, has nothing to do with the song. There's a lot of songs like that where the ending is just something that really wasn't in the feel of the whole song. And it's not, this isn't quite like that. It's just different enough that it really gets your attention somehow.
Right. Yeah. 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 I can see that. And you know, I'm thinking about so many songs from the 70s and early 80s that you know just did the fade out, and it was like I always thought. I mean,
I hate fade outs.
I, I I don't hate them, but I it makes me feel like they weren't sure what to do. That's like we're either going to have to think up an ending or we're going to have to fade out, and they took the easy way out and faded out a lot of times or something. But there's that, and then there's also songs like you said where the ending doesn't fit. Like sometimes a song will end with just a super abrupt, like, you know, bah, and it's just over, and you're like, what? You know, that didn't seem right or whatever. But this was really, I mean, it has contrast, and it's definitely a different kind of tone or feel or something than the
Chord.
rest.
It's
Of the song.
just the
But
note choice. It's really about the note choice in this case because all the sounds are the same, the vibe's the same.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make me feel like it's out of place.
No.
It's like you said, it does stand out, and it does say this is the end of the song. You know.
Absolutely. I made some notes on this song, stuff that I had researched on it.
Uh-huh.
The original name of the song was Uptight. That's a reasonable thing to call this song, or they could have called it Outside the way I heard it, which is incorrect. So that was one thing. But so the name of the song was a play on a Bob Dylan song, which was Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Oh.
Apparently, this song was inspired by, he was driving home one night and a bird flew into his windshield.
Okay.
A pheasant flew into his windshield.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he stopped, like he was out in the country, and he got out of the car to see what happened.
Yeah.
And like he's looking around, and he saw the bird and it was dead. They turned around to get back in his car. This is like something I've done. And he just stopped for a second and looked up at the sky because he's out there in the dark, alone.
Right.
And in that moment, he had this thought pop into his head: what would it be like to get abducted by aliens right this second?
Oh yeah.
That was something that inspired that was the key inspiration to the song.
It's like a Richard Dreyfuss parked at the railroad tracks moment where he's looking at the map and the lights come down and everything.
And then the title is, honestly, it's kind of a play on E.T. Phone Home if you think about it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Subterranean Homesick Alien. It's
Right, yeah.
really kind of about E.T. the whole movie. And then something else I thought was really cool. So apparently he wrote the lyrics on a napkin in a bar after he imagined the floor falling out of the bar and everyone there stayed suspended where they were, connected to their drinks.
Was he under the influence of something at this
No,
moment?
I don't know, but that is a glimpse inside Thom Yorke's kind of creative mind and creative process, because I don't know about you, but that instantaneously creates a movie scene in my head, you know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
where
Exactly.
everything free, you know, these people are standing there drinking bottles of beer, and all of a sudden whoosh, the floor goes away, and they're just frozen like in space, connected to their drinks. It's kind of weird.
Wow.
So I don't know. What'd you think of your introduction to Radiohead?
That song's beautiful. It's really cool. I mean, you know, it's a little unusual, but not in a bad way at all. It has a very, you know, trippy feel, but it also, you know, has some beautiful tones and lots of atmosphere and everything, and it really it gives you a lot of space to enjoy it in, rather than the typical wall of sound that we've talked about, the wall of sound before, which I don't hate the wall of sound, you know, that a lot of bands do, but I don't think it's appropriate all the time, and this is very much the opposite of that. It's very three-dimensional. What time period did this album come from? I mean, ballpark.
90s.
Okay. I mean, so you're talking about later albums. Are they still going? Are they
Oh
still?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. And
All right.
they made. I mean, they're still making really interesting music. I mean, I know Radiohead probably still do, had a huge cult following because they're kind of mysterious, and they loved to weave mysterious things into their music and messages and stuff. And their fans loved to kind of like try to decode their albums because
Ah,
they were always doing that, trying to build in like make this whole hidden meaning and hidden messages. And I know there's like huge theories online about what some of their albums mean if you go
yeah.
looking around
When
on Reddit or whatever.
when it's intentional like that, it's super cool because it's kind of like Easter eggs in a way, you know. Except it's not really one specific little thing. It's like a whole, you know, a big Easter egg.
Right, and they're known for also for playing the long game where it's not just one album. Like five albums later, it's still
They'll
part
do
of
like
a thing that they
yeah.
discussed years ago. Like, how can we do this? You know?
That's and very Rush like. And I was just gonna say, I feel like I saw something somewhere, like maybe it was just a picture, but I feel like Getty is a fan of Radiohead.
Uh,
Um,
I think a lot of musicians would be. You
probably
need to
so,
check
yeah.
them out. They were definitely a really unusual band, and their sound, and I mean, they've just influenced so many people. Do you like Muse?
Oh yeah, I love Muse.
Okay, well, a lot of people say that Muse is just a rehash of Radiohead. Like,
Really
yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I mean, you know, from a high point of view, like looking down on it, it's like, no, they really don't sound that much alike. But the singing in Muse, his style is so similar to Thom. I mean, the first time I heard Muse, I thought it was a Radiohead song.
Oh wow.
So I don't know.
He has that. I've always wanted one of those vocal coach reactors to maybe do a Muse song or something, because I want to hear what they say about the way he sings. You know, in between he's like, you know.
Oh, it drives me nuts, actually. And I love that guy. I love Muse.
Oh, I do
mean,
too. Yeah.
they're an incredible band. That guy is phenomenal music. Like his keyboard skills and his guitar, he's just
And
really,
that weird
really
guitar
good.
that he has that does all the digital crap in it or whatever. I don't even know what that is, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called right off the top of my head either, but I'm with you. That whole gasping in between every line, it gets on my nerves. But I know that it's like some Radiohead songs, he did that too.
Oh, really?
Maybe
Yeah.
in the earlier days of Radiohead or whatever. All right, that was Subterranean Homesick Alien by Radiohead. We hope you enjoyed our conversation, our breakdown, our discussion of the lyrics and the music. And if you have thoughts, comments, your own interpretation of what this means, put them in the comments. Let us know what you think.
And I just realized that Subterranean Homesick Alien rhymes. Cool. So if you feel that we've earned it, give us a like and possibly a subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you next time around.
Get out of here,
Later.
you hosers.